The nation, thanks for tuning into this broadcast, of course. This lockdown nationwide has stopped activities of all kind. The key is what could happen to real estate firms and construction firms as migrant workers leave cities or look to leave cities. So either before the lockdown or once the lockdown is over. The other bit is, while what's happening in the near term is important, what could happen over the medium term is probably even more important. Prices, sales, what have you. Let's get in a premier player in this space, L&T Realty, and Mr. Shrikant Joshi, the MD and CEO of the company, joins us right now with his perspective. Good having Mr. Joshi. Thanks so much for joining in. We were speaking to some of your peers in that sense, Prestige Estates, the Niranjan Hiranandani, and all of them were of the opinion that, yes, the near term looks clouded, and we need some support from the government in terms of measures as well. But the medium-term picture may actually be good for mid-sized real estate and large real estate developers, because this will only move the belief of people towards established names. How do you see the landscape, and how do you see L&T Realty within that now?
Thanks, Neeraj. Thank you for having me. The fact remains, Neeraj, that last 4 or 5 years, the government has brought in many legislations to regulate this industry, which was by and large more unregulated in the past. So there's a IBC, there's NCLT, there is RERA, and all this forces the players to become more organized, and suddenly being organized becomes a premium. As far as the customer is concerned, the customer has by and large, while it may have been okay, but the possibilities of being taken for a ride were much higher earlier. And today he gets a lot of protection in terms of RERA and many other acts which are there today. So this forces the consolidation, which was anyway happening. COVID has been the final blow towards that, and it will force a consolidation pretty soon. As far as the prospect of the industry is concerned, L&T Realty, we are very bullish of it. As a country, you know, our urbanization is just about beginning. It's very, very low, 20%, and most developed worlds end up becoming 50, 60, 70% over a period of time. As this urbanization move starts, we are also a low penetration category as housing. Most people need housing. We have lots of population. And of course, with that comes jobs, with that come offices and shopping spaces. So yeah, they are right in saying that the medium term is good, and the long term is even better. COVID has created specific circumstances, not only for this industry, but for all industries. And we need to face that over the next short term of maybe 12 months, 18 months.
Would you believe that unless a large package of some sort comes out from the government side, it might be difficult for the industry to get back on its feet in normal course of time, that it might actually become very, very painful and extended in terms of the pain?
So, Neeraj, I would answer that a little differently. Firstly, what you said in your opening statement is right. Real estate is a large employment generator. And this large employment generation is the need of our country today and in the medium term or next decade as well. We are a young country. We have lots of youth coming into the job market, and it has different connotations if the jobs are not created. So with the result of creating jobs, this industry needs some support in the COVID period of time. If you see just pre-COVID, residential went through a lot of pain. And just as it was coming out, we had the COVID. When the residential was in pain, at least the commercial market and the retail markets were doing well. With the COVID, what has happened, the lockdown has created a very unique situation. And of course, all retail shops are closed. So the pain has got and spread across the industry chain. Now, most governments across the world have created packages for the industry to come out of this. And that there are various packages for all kinds of industries. We are also in talks with the minister, our urban and housing minister, Hardeep Bayalji, and he's also the aviation minister, as well as many other central ministers who have sympathies for the sector and who also understand the point that a package needs to be created for this sector for its large role it plays in job creation.
Okay, there's a two-pronged question that I have, Mr. Joshi. One, uh, before we get to how the environment might shape up, just the fact that prices by and large haven't moved up quite substantially over the last 2 years, any which ways. The belief would be that because of COVID and the demand lagging due to the fall in economic activity, demand may not come back. Would there be a dearth of large investors wanting to put money to work in residential real estate in particular? Commercial real estate might have that added advantage of the REIT structure and all of that. Residential may not, and therefore, would there be a dearth of investors wanting to put in money into the space to make large projects?
So Neeraj, that's a very good, interesting point you're making. But we must see that in a large perspective. What you say for last 2 years has been true. The industry has been in stress, and hence the prices has been down. But look at the scenario which is post-COVID. The stock market is down like hell, and we don't know where it will go and what will be the future there. Look at the gold prices. The gold prices are also extremely high. World over, whenever there are opportunities like this, the HNIs have a very good opportunity to cash in. The fact that whatever they will buy today will be at the lowest price over the next many, many years. So, for people who have cash and who are looking for investment avenues, this is a safer investment than many other alternatives they may have in the current situation. So, smart HNIs definitely look for these opportunities and pick asset classes which make sense at that period of time. In that sense, housing stock is a lot more safe today than many other asset classes available as an option as of now.
No, Mr. Joshi, so I appreciate that if I have money right now and if I approach L&T Realty and if there is some distress sale or if there are some sales happening at lower prices, I'll benefit. I was trying to
Yes.
understand, and I'm sure you got my point. I'm just trying to rephrase this again to understand it better. What about
Mhm.
large funds which used to invest in real estate projects because they would believe that sales would happen, prices would inch up? Both of those factors in the near term might be curtailed, right? So therefore, would that
Yeah.
money stand to get disrupted?
Yes. So that point of yours, Neeraj, is absolutely perfect. So the funds have their own challenges. Each of the fund is specialized in a particular vertical, and they are masters of that vertical. If you really see, and then each of these funds are also listed. If you see in the US market or Singapore market, where mostly these funds are and they are listed there, they all the values have come down at least 20 to 40% depending on which category they are. The lowest destruction has happened in data centers, and the highest are in co-working and other places. So the funds are grappling with their own challenges. Having said that, there are funds who believe in the long-term story of particular countries. The long-term story of residential and offices of India remains intact. And so long as we remain competitive within their investment universe, monies will flow. Will they flow like they were in the past? The answer is no. Will they be available on tap like they were in the boom times? The answer is no. Which is why, coming back to your first question, the credibility of the developer will become important. The brand of the developer will become important. His governance structures will become important. And the property and the types of property, is it in tune with the new reality? All these four will become important. And yes, the flows will be reduced than they were in the past. It will be a challenging situation.
Okay. The other thing, and a lot of chatter around this, I was wondering what your perspective is. Excuse me, I mean, I would not know the exact details of what kind of breakup. I mean, yes, I know that, I mean, I have an idea about your revenues. And I do know that you have 7 commercial projects as well. But there is a lot of, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of chatter around how in the post-COVID era, uh, their demand for commercial real estate might actually come off because businesses might not want to expand office space. And I think I was talking to Anuj Puri 2 3 weeks back, and he was citing
Mhm.
what had happened in 2008-9 in a similar situation as well. Do you fear that at all, Mr. Joshi?
Yes. Neeraj, that's again a very valid question. If you really see the office market in India, 45% of the offtake or the leasing is done by US companies. About 30% odd is by Indian companies, and then rest are small slivers of all. So our space, that space is a lot dependent on what happens in the US market. As you know, the US market and the COVID there has been hitting more severely than it has happened in India. Each of these firms are grappling with their challenges, how to survive, how to make the cash last. And certainly at this point of time, to expand offices is not on the topmost area priority for any of the companies. Unless some companies have decided to consolidate and move from one place to another or X or Y or Z. So the point remains that yes, the demand for leasing will come down. There is another interesting point. 30% of these Indian corporates, which used to take space, and take a company like us, L&T, we are a project-oriented company. We are on sites every day. We have multiple sites. We would have never thought of working from home. This COVID has forced many companies to work from home. And then you realize it's not that bad. Now, will that be 100%? The answer is no. But will there be some percentage of people, 20, 30, which will work from home? The possibility of that is pretty high. And hence, the overall demand to that extent may be muted or may go down even for newer companies. So office, again, will get consolidated. The grade A players are less. The choices will be available. But the overall demand may be down 30, 35%. Anuj's own estimation is 30, 35% drop in that demand. I would tend to agree with that in the short run.
Yeah, and it might actually be a win-win for both employers and employees. I mean, both of them might just be happy to work for the employee to work out of home, and that might be an interesting change, something that we haven't seen. Mr. Joshi, just one quick follow-up before we get to L&T Realty and a couple of questions there. What is this whole thing about online sales? In my lifetime, I've never seen people being able to buy flats online. I mean, buying other products online also is just a new thing. Is this more a completion of existing sales that were already in process and just a final completion happening, or are scratch or a pin to piano or a start to finish sale happening online?
So Neeraj, that's a very astute observation which you have made. I think, to my mind, it's a very high involvement decision. For most people, it's way beyond many years of their salary. The whole family is involved. It is a very combined decision. It's not like buying a soap or a toothpaste where it doesn't matter if it goes wrong. It will be a while before the entire transaction happens online. The fulfillment mechanisms are also not fully there. We are creating a fulfillment mechanism whereby it can be created and fulfilled on the net. Whether that will happen is a very different discussion. To my mind, these are people who have visited, who have seen, who have an idea, who have made the choice, but somehow before the lockdown, they were not able to complete the transaction. And then that transaction has been completed after the lockdown. Today, what we are trying, when we engage, our sales teams engage with the customers, we are trying to engage with them on video chats. So that's the first step. Customers are not very comfortable on video chats. They're comfortable on audio chats. And then they say, as soon as the lockdown opens, we'll come and see the property. People tend to see the property. People want to see the layout. People want to see the sample flats, and which is why we used to make, all the industry used to make. So my own guess is like yours. I think large, if not all, are transactions completed with people who have seen that before. It will be very, very miraculous if the entire A to Z transaction happens online as of now. If this situation persists for a long period of time, then one has to wait and see. And it will start small, 5%, 10%. It will start like that.
Okay. Now, just one final set of questions or final question, Mr. Joshi, and that's your assessment of how would L&T Realty emerge out of this? Because almost it's become a bit of a broken record of, I sound like a broken record, or almost anybody who talks to me sounds like a broken record when he says that the big and the efficient companies will only tend to become bigger. This has happened across the world and happened in India. One, what will happen to L&T Realty in the post-COVID era? And do you reckon that there is a possibility that companies of your size as well could become 4x, 5x the size in the next 5 to 7 years? Is that possible?
So 2 points. Firstly, the consolidation which people talk in a normal industry can happen, and where you can get this huge multiples in a short period of time, where the product is created under one roof in a factory and then it's shipped across, and then the brand can play. So there, these dramatic changes of fortunes can happen in a very short period of time. Real estate, to my mind, is not like that. Space is not fungible, land is not fungible, ownership of land is not fungible, and creation of product is not under one roof. The product has to be created in those disparate locations where you have. The land is not like a raw material of a product which you can buy. So the dramatic parts to happen will not be possible. But yes, the consolidations will happen. It's a matter of time and space. Now, what will happen to L&T Realty? We are a very unique company in this entire space. We are very financially strong. Our brand is extremely well trusted. We have a construction company in-house. There is no company with all the three together in this space in the country, or maybe in the world also. I do not know whether there is a space which is a company which is so good in all the three. The brand is trusted like hell. We are well placed in this situation. Is it automatic? The answer is no. We will have to do many things right. We have done that. Our Seawoods launch was a great success in a market which was not that good. Our Murud launch was a great success in a market when that was not very good. So we have to know the customer pulse, create the product which fits his pocket and the ticket size. The product has to improve with time, and we have to reduce costs like hell from tomorrow. The viability will not happen. L&T is not going to put money in businesses which don't generate value. So we have to be fit and find generating value within the L&T's various businesses, and we have to keep investing in the business which our management is willing to do. So we have a very bright chance of that happening. It depends on how we perform from here on.
Okay, but just to follow up, just last question, you reckon that there is a possibility that it could well happen that companies of very large size as well could grow 5x, 7x in the next 5-7 years?
It is possible. It will definitely happen. It is possible.
Okay. Mr. Joshi, so good chatting with you today. Thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to you again, hopefully when the times are better.
Sure, Neeraj. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The pleasure is ours. Viewers, thanks for tuning into this broadcast.